Yeah. Glad you're bad. Glad your kids are bad. So everybody knows they're here for an overview of middle school, so pretty much orientation. So we will go ahead. I'm Elizabeth LaRose, and I'm the middle school director, as well as the assistant head of school for curriculum. So I wear two hats. Today, I'm strictly wearing the hat of middle school director, although you can ask me personal questions too, as they pertain to middle school. And beside me, and my co-part today is, and actually every day, is our Dean of Student Life, Mike Friedman. So we'll be presenting together. I call it a presentation loosely because, you know, we basically have in there everything we think you might need to know. But of course, you may have other questions. Please, you know, feel free to ask along the way. If I know that your question is going to be answered a little bit later in the presentation, I'll let you know that. But at any rate, this is really meant to give you an overview and perhaps even spur questions you might have later on or this morning. Okay, so thank you all for being here bright and early this morning. Middle school. So, we start off with our mission, which I'm sure you're now familiar with. Our mission fits in perfectly with the middle school, and middle school fits in perfectly with our mission, which we're very proud of. Embrace Chinese, become your best self, and create your place in the world. And you'll see as we go through this morning that the curriculum and our extracurricular activities are all designed to meet these three expectations. You know, I've been asked, what about Embrace America? And there's no way that middle school kids don't embrace America or American culture. So that's a given, and it's not meant to be left out. Our goals for our middle school students, basically, we want them, we know we have a bunch of really bright, really wonderful students. We want to make sure at this really crucial point in time in their lives that they are, in addition to the rigorous academics that they do have at CAIS, that they are also they're learning more and more about the outside world, about the outside community. They have opportunities to serve in many capacities, and Mike will be talking a little bit more about that. Basically character development, that and instilling a sense of really wanting to learn, a real love of learning in ways that are in the classroom and outside of the classroom.
So this graphic may be familiar to many of you. It's the 4 qualities of the CAIS lower school, and part of the conversations that Peter, who's here and the head of the lower school, and Elizabeth and I have been having this year is, how can we make that transition even more seamless? How can we help our students see that while middle school is different, there's so much that's the same that's being carried forward and brought up. So in middle school, we have a slightly different graphic, and especially today to make it more readable to everyone. But what we're really doing is we're trying to, again, embody these 4 important qualities of respect, honesty, citizenship, and responsibility. And when we think back to the school's mission and to the idea of becoming our best selves, these 4, and I think those 4 pillars are really what are guiding our expectations for our students, guiding the way that we're teaching and helping them think and understand the world. And when you go up to the 4th floor and you visit and you get off the elevator and you turn to your left to come into open space, you'll see these 4 qualities visually represented on a pole. And we put that up this year because we want our students to really see that and see that every day and have these words and these ideas on their mind.
So some of the ways we do that we've already mentioned, but our curriculum is student-centered. It is a bit different from just in terms of structure from lower school and from 5th grade. Students will have, instead of one teacher and one teacher associate or TA, Your students have 3 teachers. They will have a math and science teacher. Math and science is taught in an integrated way, which is actually really proven to be a wonderful way for the students to apply math and apply science. We have one social studies and English language arts teacher. So that is another block. And then the third block is Mandarin. So Mandarin culture, Mandarin history, Mandarin language, Mandarin conversation. The arts program also changes in the middle school. So our arts program is on the afternoons, on Wednesday afternoon and Friday afternoons. And the students have a chance to really delve into, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but to really delve into one area of the arts. They're broken up pretty equally in English and Mandarin, so there's even more opportunity for the students to speak Mandarin with Mandarin speaking teachers of the arts. We'll go into that a little bit more. Mike will talk a little bit more about community involvement, and the opportunities for sports increases also, both team sports and sports within the PE program are enhanced during middle school years. I've spoken a little bit about this already, but basically, and here's another difference between 5th grade or lower school and middle school, is that we shift a bit with our Mandarin and English. Our percentage goes to 65% English and 35% basically, more or less, Mandarin instruction. And a lot of that is because at this point in time, we're clearing our students for high school. So there's more work on essay writing, there's a lot more reading, etc. So, any questions about that? Again, the curriculum is designed for independent thinking, for critical thinking, really so that students answer questions, have questions answered, but also that they are able to develop their own questions and inquiring minds. Another thing that we really strive for is within the disciplines that the students start to make relationships between the core disciplines. So if they're studying English social studies, and they're also studying in Mandarin, what was happening in the United States at that time, or in Europe at the same time as different events were happening in China or Taiwan. And so they start to make these wonderful connections. To do that, we make sure that our teachers have time to speak with each other, to plan with each other, and to create a curriculum that's cohesive. Technology. Our students, I feel like I'm going to speak about it, but I have a master sitting in the room. Would you like to speak a little bit about technology?
Sure, just completely off the cuff. What the students do in middle school, and we're really kind of changing the technology program a little bit next year. We're trying to integrate technology into the core curriculum more than just have like breakout computer classes. So our technology coordinator will be working with the middle school teachers to plan projects that involve technology, but that also are part of their regular coursework. And then with the 6th graders, we also have a dedicated technology class that they go to, and that's taught by a specialist, and they're going to learn things like programming and like right now they're working a lot on Google Docs and Google presentations and learning how to use the kind of suite of Google Apps services. But they're also later I think starting soon they're going to be doing some Android app programming, so learning how to do apps for Android phones. And just because the person we have teaching it is really into that and he's excited about it, and I think he can get the students excited about it too. So So it'll be a little bit different next year. We'll have way more technology in the core curriculum, and I think it's going to be cool. So.
Yeah. As a goal this year, and the same will be next year, although the ante might be up, each one of our teachers has a goal of stretching themselves in technology and using technology within the curriculum. So we have to keep up with our students at this point, right? Especially with classes like Mr. Wu's. And so here, and so the sixth graders, just so you know what's coming up, sixth graders do have dedicated time, as Brad said, and then the 7th and 8th grade, our goal is really to have it much more integrated. We have, and this is strictly for the 6th grade, we have classes we call them the ITSE classes, and there's an obvious reason. Every student has a 40-minute class in IT, in Chinese conversation, and in environmental ed. And they're broken up into 3 groups. Usually there are 2 classes, right? And your 5th grade this year is 2 classes,
Yeah.
Am I correct? Right. So you'll remain 2 classes next year. However, we do break them up for purposes of the ITSE class into 3. And one class is having IT, another class is having Chinese conversation, and another is having environmental ed. And they rotate through that. Each of them is an introduction. Brad has already talked to you. Actually, IT is a bit more than an introduction. Right now, Mr. Wu, Mr. Alex Wu, who's actually a current dad at our school, and has also been a substitute teacher and et cetera at our school, and now is teaching this IT class and doing a great job at it. Huai Shu is teaching the Chinese conversation, and this is a chance for the students beyond the classroom to really take the Mandarin that they've learned in class, the grammar, et cetera, vocabulary, and to use it through conversation. A lot of it is project-based, so the students give presentations and then have discussions around it, but it's really using the language. There's no grammar except if maybe there's a correction, but the point is not teaching so much as using during that class. And then environmental ed, that's taught by Mr. Churchill, and quite a successful class this year. He's really going into the rudiments of environmental responsibility, and we really do feel like this is an awareness and actually a skill set that our students do need to be 21st century citizens. So anyway, these are 3 classes that are in the afternoon, and you'll see later when I show you the class schedule, that are embedded in the afternoon. Our athletic program. Students have a chance to be on a cross-country team, volleyball, basketball, futsal, track and field. We have, as you know, some really great teams. Our teams have done very well in going. Last year, we won titles in volleyball and basketball. So, I think it's a very great experience, and there's a very big emphasis on teamwork and team building, so beyond winning. Our arts program. So I'll go back to that now. This is a program that's actually been designed by our own Susan Kennedy, who I know all of you know. And when I first started last year, it seems like it's longer than that in some ways and much shorter than that in other ways, because it's really been a great run. At any rate, I asked her, what would be your ultimate program for the arts for middle school? And we really felt it was time to do a bit of a revamp. And this is the program that she came up with. And we all worked together on refining it. And I feel like it's really proven to be a great way for the students to delve in. This is a place where the Mandarin and English are 50-50. So Chinese music, Chinese dance, and Chinese brush painting are all taught in Mandarin by professionals in their fields. And some of the work that comes out of these classes is quite remarkable. Some of it is on the wall here, some of the brush painting pictures. Certainly you saw at the winter program, you saw some of the dance and music. So we're very, very proud. These classes each last for 1 trimester. So your child will be in one arts class for the trimester and then go on to another one. So they're able to really get some depth in one discipline. And then it will circulate back, so they'll be able to, when they're 7th and 8th graders, also expand on what they've learned in 6th grade.
So Elizabeth, is this the first year currently?
This is the first year we've had this arts program. Yeah.
Do they select?
Like this. There's been arts before.
Right.
It's been called the Wheel. You may have heard of it as the Wheel. And it was interspersed within the curriculum. This way, there's a dedicated time when every middle school child is in the arts. Yeah.
I just wanted you to explain. Did the children select which class, or do
No.
you place them in the class
No.
and alternate?
Exactly.
As they go.
We place them, and that is a difference. With the Wheel, before, there was more choice involved. And I think it was a very good program for the time. However, we're really seeing some happy students who are really having, there's exposure, and if they love it, great. They can really go beyond and delve in further. If they don't, it's going to change next semester, but they will have gotten this overview. And we feel like these particular classes, given the professionals that we have teaching them, or have proven to be a really great and very balanced arts offering. Yes.
So it's one of these each trimester, so that's 2 years of the program right there.
It actually winds up being it's 1 in each language each trimester.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So on Wednesday, like they have 2 on Wednesday and the same 2 on Friday, and they'll have 1 in Chinese and 1 in English, and they'll do that for the trimester, and then the 6th grade will move on to two different. So all 3 grades are rotating through the 6th each year, and so they're also able to build up their skill level once they've had these teachers in 6th, and then 7th, and then 8th.
Thank
They can
you.
really do different.
Yes, I'm just getting over being sick, so it's good he's here. In English, there's world music, which is taught by Mrs. Kennedy, hip-hop dance, and art with Mr. Brown. Okay, so, this gives our kids a cool factor. We've watched them at dances using some of their moves, dances that involve not only CAIS kids, so we feel like the hip-hop is actually may look flippant, but it's actually, we think, really important to our kids, and they love it. And it's really good movement and really good exercise, and even supplements our PE program. So, any other questions about the arts program? Mike can answer. Okay, great. Schedules and structures. So our schedule is really well honed in. I will tell you that a lot of professionals have done a lot of work on really honing in and getting the best possible schedule for the students. I don't have to tell you, you're already seeing signs of this, but I'm sure in 5th grade, but in 6th grade, as students get a little bit older, their changes are happening. And there'll be other sessions around that, and we'll offer you lots and lots of support in the middle school through different professionals who come and speak, and through presentations with teachers, etc. But their brains are changing, their bodies are changing, and their ways of thinking are changing. They're no longer children. Although one minute they may be, and the other minute they're not, and you're very well aware of that. So we put together basically a schedule that accommodates for the changes that are going on within them, and that is a really safe, structured environment with them. So many other changes going on. The curriculum is definitely student-centered. As I said before, there's an emphasis on teacher collaboration. So on Wednesdays and Fridays, when our students are in the arts program, our teachers are meeting. And they meet, and this is really good for you to know. On Wednesdays, this afternoon, for example, we have a meeting, and it's a coordination meeting. There are other meetings later on Fridays that are rotating where a group of professionals, the teachers from each grade level, so say 6th grade teachers, would meet with me, with Mr. Friedman, with the school counselor, the middle school counselor, and oftentimes our Grace Lang, who is our learning specialist. And we go over each of the students and where they are and maybe what their needs are and how they're doing academically, how they're doing socially, how they're doing emotionally. So we really are looking at these students and looking at what kind of support each of them needs on an individual basis and on a group basis. So our schedule really does work that way to give both teachers time and students that kind of structure that gives them a sense of security. Yes?
Sorry, I was wondering if the kids get to see this kind of interdisciplinary teamwork by the teachers do they get to experience that, or is there co-teaching or team teaching that they get to see, rather than just have that collaboration going in the background? Will they get to see their teachers working together and as models of teamwork?
Not so much, honestly. I mean, they feel the results of it within the class. We don't have a lot. For example, we don't have. It will happen at times. I mean, there are field trips that happen in conjunction because it would be great to. For example, I'll give you an example. It's not a 6th grade example, but it's an example that happened this week. I was on a field trip with the 8th grade to the Sacramento Birds Refuge. And Ms. Reamer, who is the social studies teacher, was along with us. And so, there were Ms. Sherman, who's the science teacher at the 7th and 8th grade level, was really focused on birds and migration and where they were coming from, whereas Ms. Reamer was talking about, okay, where they're coming from. Here's the map, where have they been, where are they coming from, where are they going back to. We studied some of these places, etc. So they do see it. It's in the water, if you will, but there's not so much team teaching. I think they're well aware that we meet.
Yeah, but it'd be great for them to see sometimes how even the interdisciplinary conversations between, as you're saying, like a social science teacher and a science teacher would be great.
Yeah. And hopefully as time goes on, we'll have
that would be great.
Have more and more of that.
Elizabeth, is there more project-based learning, group learning?
There is. Yes, there definitely is. The teaching is a very good mix of actually teaching information and then really using it. And it's different, obviously, in different classes. Mr. Sproul, who teaches the ELA and social studies, does have many projects. There's a magazine that is the final product or their final project, I should say. And they work on it all year long. So there's one example.
But as a team, as a group?
That's a project that is more individual. There definitely are projects that the students do. There's a lot of it in Mr. Churchill's class. I invite you to walk up and look at the bulletin boards on the 4th floor. Often his projects are on the bulletin board right in front of the 6th grade science and math classroom. There's just recently you may have heard about this actually, but they were studying density, and so they had a group project where they came in swimsuits. Not that they didn't come in swimsuits, but they changed to swimsuits. And there was I'm not sure where he gets these things, but it was this really big tub and with water in it. And the kids were taking turns going in, if they chose to. And then another student would be measuring the water so they could see how dense the student was. So that's just one off the top of my head that happened just right before the holiday. The morning of the holiday. You're not going to get a lot of good attention anyway, so but there was rapt attention to that. So yes, middle school is filled, especially the 6th grade at that level, is filled with projects, both individual and group.
And I would just say, like, the Chinese teachers really also are doing a lot of projects. So that's one of the best ways to be learning the language and studying the history and bringing it all together. And actually, in the way that we work to redesign that open space, if you haven't been up there lately, and it used to be a couch and a table and sort of spread out, there are now 4 tables, stools all around, chairs around all the tables. So what we're seeing more and more is teachers bringing their students out of the classroom, students working at these tables in small groups, being able to work on projects. Some are in the classroom with the teachers, some are working on their own, teachers are moving back and forth between these groups. So we've really set it up where we're giving teachers the opportunity and the space to really push this project learning even more so. Now they have much room for the students to spread out and be able to do that.
And do they do this all in Chinese?
In Chinese class, they're doing everything in Chinese, yeah.
Even when they're working on a project?
They're doing everything, yes, and their teachers are right on top of them if they hear any English. Yeah, I mean, even and I don't speak Mandarin when I've had students just practice for me because I want to hear what they're doing anyway, and they'll speak to me in Chinese, not really knowing what they're saying, but it's great because they get to feel comfortable speaking in front of someone. Because I think that's one of the most important things that we're doing is really building some self-confidence. And you see a lot in middle school, students get to be more hesitant about speaking Mandarin. I'm not native. I might sound funny. What if I say it wrong? And so just to get them speaking in front of us, and they know that if they're in Chinese class and they're not speaking Chinese, that's a huge no-no with the teacher and the consequences. Because that's just the expectations that teachers have set up, and they do it.
And actually, even in the hallways, the students speak to the Chinese teachers only in Mandarin. And if you can hear it, if they go into English, the teachers continues to speak to them in Mandarin, and if it keeps on, there's a Mandarin. And I know it's really working when I walk down the hall and I hear 2 students are speaking in English, and then they see me and they go straight to Mandarin. That's okay. It's really okay. I probably shouldn't have heard it anyway. At any rate, yes, so we'll go on to the schedule. This is this year's 6th grade schedule. I don't anticipate a lot of change. It's really been honed. We worked on it a lot at the beginning of last year. The teachers have had a tremendous amount of input and really the 6th grade teachers and really have their mark of approval. It is different than the 7th and 8th grade schedule, specifically because we look at this as a year to do a gentle transition into 7th and 8th grade. It's not that we don't have very, very high expectations of the students. We do, both academically, behaviorally. There are a lot of areas we're hitting at this age. That said, we want the schedule to be as conducive to the changes they're going through, and this very big change from 5th grade to middle school. So there really is, there are several blocks here. As you can see, most of the academic classes are taught in the morning. The afternoons are a combination of, there is PE every day, which we feel is very, very important for this age group. They also have a recess time that is outdoors. So that would work very, very hard to maintain. There is then, we spoke about the ITSE classes, and here's when they are. There's 1, 2. So they rotate through there 3 times a week. For this particular trimester, they were in world music with Miss Kennedy and Chinese dance in the arts program. So there's one in the first part of the afternoon and the other in the second part of the afternoon. Same thing on Fridays. There's advisory 3 times a week, and Mr. Freeman is going to go into advisory and independent study a little bit more in just a few minutes. But we feel like this is a very well-honed and gentle, as if you will, schedule. That said, there's a lot of really strong academics and strong curriculum happening within those spaces. Yes.
So it's really great to see recess in there.
On homework. And parents do let me know, so it's an open invitation. If they're spending more than 2 hours, please do let me know. We work very hard with the teachers to make sure that there's not a test and a big project due all at the same time, so that homework or big projects or big chunks of study are happen. I'm looking for the right word.
Staggered.
Staggered. Thank you. Or staggered. And everything, all of the homework is, or all of the major projects are posted on Veracross. So you have a chance to, along with your student, and obviously your student does too, to go up and look and just to check themselves and to make sure of what homework they do have. Homework is meant to enhance what they've learned in the classroom. Sometimes it's practice, and sometimes it is really using and working on, using what they've learned and working on a project. Yes?
Is that 2 hours for both, that includes both Chinese and English?
For all combined.
And it's not necessarily an hour of each every night, it'll
No,
vary?
it will vary. Yes, absolutely. And if they don't have 2 hours of homework, that's fine too, but that should be the max. Yes.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, yes, please look at Veracross, because sometimes the student doesn't get the assignment right. Like my daughter, she got an assignment, she thought she had to write this whole essay, and it was due the next day. But in actuality, it was just an outline of what she was going to write. So a lot of times, you know, and so she spent a lot of hours trying to get this essay written. I'm like, are you sure you didn't get this assignment sooner or whatever? And she's like, no, I just got it today, and he's expecting it tomorrow. I'm like, I don't think so, but I didn't think about checking Veracross. So it's very important, like Ms. LaRose said, is if there's an assignment that sounds kind of odd, to check Veracross. Yeah.
I also want to say there are some middle school parents with 40 kids, but the homework is varied. You've got some that's daily, such as the math. Obviously, they've learned a concept, and there are math problems, which they would be due the next day. But a lot of the work is project-based. So if you find that your child is working 5 hours and going nuts, a lot of the time it may be that there hasn't been the time management, which is also something that's so important that the middle school team and the teachers work to encourage the ownership on the students to develop those skills, which will be for high school and college, and reading is a life skill. So that's something as well, that is a partnership that the parents can help with the transition to the middle school, that it is a little bit at a time, so that you plan. For instance, you know this project is due. If you have activities during the week, you've got the weekend to work on that, because that is really one of the vital, I think, changes that happen. I think those middle school parents will agree with that. And that sometimes is an easier transition for some students than others, and that's where the support and the Veracross and the parents can be involved to support that.
Right. And invariably there will be math homework, some problems, and there will be some Mandarin homework, some Chinese homework. Those are the two that are pretty steady, and that's the case from 6th grade through 8th grade. The rest of them are more project-based, and as we said before, they're staggered. Their homework is more staggered.
I had a question about Veracross, for the kids checking their homework and managing all that more efficiently in 6th grade. Do they get their own task board at that point in time?
They do, yes. Outdoor education. So this is something that we really see as a vital, absolutely vital part of our overall curriculum. Outdoor ed takes place usually in the early fall, so September, October, early October. Beyond that, some of the places we go get too cold. That said, the 6th grade almost invariably is going to Westminster Woods. It's I'm looking at Brad again because my first year here, the two of us were both chaperones on that trip. And it is a great experience for the 6th grade to, I think the word bond is overused, but it truly, there's not really a better word. It truly is a time for them to look at each other as, they're middle school students. Yes, they've been together for a very long time, but this is something new. And there's the predominance of the program, it's a 3-day, we usually go for 3 days. It's a beautiful wooded area, and there's team building with a very, very excellent staff, and a ropes course. So they really do learn trust, and it's also a great time for them to get to know the middle school staff some, and invariably Mr. Churchill at least is there, and some of the other teachers go. It's a requirement that each teacher goes to at least one environmental ed, and obviously we have to stagger that a little bit, but for the most part the 6th grade teachers are at Westminster. And then last year, this year in fact, this school year we went to Yosemite with the 7th graders and the 8th graders to the Pinnacles. So it gives them sort of a graduated experience of really being in the outdoors. The Yosemite program was 5 days, and Pinnacles was 5 days as well. With Yosemite, they stayed in cabins, very, very rustic cabins. And with Pinnacles, we put up our own tents, and we took down our own tents, and Brad was with me again. And, as a chaperone, it's actually an incredibly fun trip for the students, and what an incredible learning experience as well. Sometimes there's even a little bit of both at Yosemite and at Pinnacles, the environmental educators who are part of the companies that we use. So it's beyond just our teachers, are really great in taking what we've asked them to integrate in terms of our science curriculum or social studies curriculum, and really integrating that into their 5 days on these trips. It's really a highlight. You know, another thing to mention here in terms of trips are the Chinese trips. So this year is our maiden voyage for 7th graders. They'll be going to what we call Beijing Academy. And it's just something for you to keep in mind. There's not a 6th grade Chinese trip this year. That's not to say it won't ever happen. We're really working out these trips, but just really know that the 7th grade trip is a 3-week trip to Beijing, where the students are in class in the mornings and then using their Mandarin in the afternoons out in the streets of Beijing, obviously with teachers and chaperones. But there is also they'll sleep in homes with other people, with other families, etc. So it's complete and utter immersion for 3 weeks in Mandarin. So it is something to look forward to. The 8th grade has an exchange program to Beijing as well. Service learning.
So you can think back to one of those first slides where we had the mission and it talked about being your best self and finding your place in the world. And service learning really helps push toward that. So what I'm trying to do in terms of raising the bar for our service learning program is helping our kids look beyond themselves and see that there's more out there. And we're doing that in a number of different ways. We're doing that with little projects, with one-time projects, with longer-term projects, because the goal is for our students to really see that every little bit counts, and they really can make a difference. Even as 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, we can mainly only give 45 minutes a week. So we have a number of options for our students. All of our middle school students are able to be tutors and tutor younger students, and we actually have 19 middle school students who tutor a younger student for 45 minutes a week. And they work on reading, and they work on homework and study skills, and it's also just a nice relationship to build where once the younger students see our kids in the hallway and they get excited and wave and can point out, that's my buddy. And it's really nice to see, and it gets them excited about continuing on into the school. In November, we had a big food drive, and we had a hunger assembly where we were playing a quiz bowl and learning about hunger in the San Francisco community, hunger in our greater American community, and what we can do about that. We did some holiday gift making, as you can see here, that we donated friendship bracelets and cards to children's hospitals in San Francisco to help bring some well wishes to children stuck in the hospitals for the holidays. We do meal setup at the Waller Street Church, where students that are interested can join me on Wednesdays after school, and we go help to set up for their dinners. And we had our first family day at the food bank, which was a huge success. We had 47 people. We bagged 2,500 pounds of beans in 2 hours. and everyone had fun, and it was great. I had 3 or 4 kids on Monday coming up asking when we can do it again because they had such a good time, and it felt really good. Some things we're, always trying to do are take students' ideas. So any student who's interested in pursuing a project, has a cause that they're interested in, maybe, when catastrophe happens around the world or something's happening in their local community, or they just decide, oh, I'd really like to collect socks to donate to this homeless shelter because I hear that a lot of kids don't have socks and I love my socks. So helping them figure out what's a good place to donate, how can we get people to know about the cause, so teaching them those skills themselves. And we're hopefully later this year, in conjunction with Student Council, are going to be doing a philanthropy project where students are going to be able to research organizations that they feel would be worthy of a donation and present them all to the middle school and take a big vote about where to donate some money that Student Council has raised. So Elizabeth mentioned a little bit about advisory, and it goes really well in terms of thinking about kids and having homework and being overwhelmed by that. Well, advisory for 6th graders is great. It happens 3 times a week. It's for 40 minutes, and it's at the very end of the day. So they know the work they have to get done, and they can do it. The way that the 6th grade teachers that we've evolved advisory to be, I'm sorry, I'm thinking advisory and IS. Scratch what I said. Start over. Advisory also happens 3 times a week. It is towards the end of the day, not at the very end. And what we're doing is, within 3 chunks of 15 minutes, we're trying to create community. Community in a different way than our students already experience it. So in 6th grade advisory, we gender segregate. It's the one time that we really split up boys and girls, because there are some different issues that are happening amongst the different genders, and we want to give some time for that. We have, right now, our counselor Sarah and Hoy Lauscher are working with the girls, and Mr. Churchill and Mr. Sproul are with the boys. And they're doing a number of different things. They're doing checks on their planners, and this happened a lot more at the beginning of the year, but how do you use your planner? Are you writing down homework? Is it legible? Do you put the date that something's due, or do you put the date that it's assigned? What's your pattern for organization? What helps you stay focused? So working on those sorts of things. They definitely do some social emotional development and character building. When issues arise amongst the class, as sometimes there always are, it's a great time when they can talk about it. Maybe there's some gossiping going on, or maybe there was an issue on the playground, and it's a time to be able to debrief and talk about it and say what happened, how could this have gone differently, how does this now affect our community, how can we begin to repair whatever relationships may have been broken. And it's definitely a lot about just adjusting to middle school life. It's a time when students can ask questions of their teachers. It's a time when, if they don't understand something, they may be able to start to talk about that, where Student Council can report about upcoming things happening within the middle school themselves. And it's also just a nice way for students to bond with teachers in a really different light. So I serve as a 7th grade advisor, and I really love it because I get these 8 kids every week, and I get to hang out with them and talk to them and work with them in a really different way than I normally do. And that's similar to advisor. You have your teacher, every day or every other day teaching you in this certain way. But here you get to play games, and you get to be silly, and it's getting to explore different topics in a different way and really building that relationship with the teachers. And it's also great for our girls with Hui Lauscher, as she speaks Chinese in advisory because she's always speaking Chinese with them. So they're getting this extra little bit of Chinese, which is really nice as well.
Excuse me, is this new?
The advisory program is not new, but the way that it's divided into 3 15-minute chunks, I believe, is new this year. Before they had it, 7th and 8th graders had it for a 45-minute chunk on Mondays, and that's what it was like before. But because 6th graders are transitioning, we decided maybe meeting a little bit more frequently for a little bit less time would help address some of those issues because they come up more frequently with our older students. Yeah.
So is it just all the girls in one group and all?
They're in 4 groups.
4 groups. Okay.
Yeah, so Sarah has one group, and Hui Lauscher has one group, and Mr. Churchill has one.
So they're like 5 or 6 kids per group?
This year it winds up being like 8 or 10, and that's what I have also in 7th. Like I have 8 7th graders, and it works out great because they're different personalities. They're going to shine at different moments. It's great because we can break down and do things in 2s and 4s and bring everyone back together. So it's a really ideal, when you're looking at advisory, that's like an ideal size. If it's too small, you may not be able to have enough conversation, enough different opinions.
And
if it's too large.
How do they decide on the groups? Is it just sort of a scheduling, logistical
Actually,
thing?
A lot of care is taken into that. One of the things we want to make sure is, and we'll asked the 5th grade teachers to know a little bit more about the 6th grade students. We pretty much know the 7th and 8th grade students, but we want them to have a chance to mix with kids that they wouldn't necessarily mix with at other times. So they're getting to know a broader span of their classrooms. I mean, of their, have a broader span of friends. And it's also meant to, we want the groups to be very cohesive so that it's a safe place to go and have discussions about something that's bothering you or something you're having trouble with in school, etc. But a lot of care is actually taken into putting groups together. That said, I have had parents who come to me or parents with students who come, and I'm sure next year they'll be coming to Mr. Friedman as well, just to say, you know, it's not necessarily the best match. I'm getting this feedback, and we will change them. I mean, unless it's something that we really feel it would benefit the kid to work out. But definitely we want this to be a safe place.
Great. So what I started talking about, so we'll roll back, independent study is happening Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 2:50 to 3:30, so it's that last 40-minute chunk of the day. And the way that the teachers that we've evolved it from the beginning of the year till now that's running really smoothly is our students stay in their ITSE classes for this. So that way they have their 3 core teachers, they have their Chinese language teacher, they have their ELA, ESS teacher, and they have their math teacher, and they're seeing each teacher one day, either Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday. So they're getting help from that teacher should they need it. They're also able to work independently on projects in the classroom. I'm also in the library, so teachers can send students down in the library so if they either need to look up books or want to read quietly, or there's some computers in the library and they're working on a project, they can also come down and join me and get support there. And it's pretty incredible how much work students can get done during that time. It's nice where, you know, if they have a project they're working on and sometimes their after-school schedules don't mesh so well, that they're able to work with their partners. It's also a time when some of our learning support specialists are there, so if kids need extra help, Megan Lingo is available, and she does some extra work just around understanding grammar and some vocabulary practice and other things that Mr. Sproul goes through during his class. And sometimes it's just nice to have another person explain it in a different way. They continue it in 7th and 8th grade. And the kids seem to really, really appreciate the time to be able to get ahead on their homework, especially with all the things they're doing after school. And it's pretty incredible how most of them are really using it to their advantage and getting a lot of stuff done. Yeah?
How do the kids know what they may need to use at this time? In other words, maybe they're focused on trying to finish their homework when actually maybe they need to talk to their English teacher or their Chinese teacher or the specialist or their friends that finish the project. How do they determine?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So part of it is like conversations that their teachers are having them with the rooms, that because of their cross and because there are only these 3 core teachers that are in such good communication with each other, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll, you know, let them know, oh, I know that John is in your classroom today, but I really need him to finish this spelling test. Or, you know, I know that Mary gets really caught up in her math homework. Tell her she can wait on it till tomorrow and she can work with what you're doing. So the teachers are really communicating with each other about what the students need, so they can be monitoring and watching and helping them make the best decisions. And that's a lot of what we did earlier in the year when they talked about some of the advisory was figuring out, you know, if I have this project, how long is it going to take? Do I need to do it with other people? What resources do I need? So where's the best use of CAIS today? Is it best used on this project, or is everything I need actually at home? So trying to gather the pieces here doesn't make sense. I should try and finish my math homework while Mr. Churchill's here to help me and work on the project later. And that's a lot of what we're doing in advisory as well.
Okay, because I just see that, at least for my child, as being a little bit overwhelming at first because she'll want to focus on something, she'll forget that there's something else, then she'll think through what I have available to me, who is available, and some guidance in sort of getting used to making those decisions and using that time wisely.
Absolutely, and that's the other thing, the way, because they're broken down into smaller groups, so in this class is actually bigger, and they wind up being in groups of about 15, but then there's myself, and there's Ms. Lingo, that the kids are able to, with their teacher's help, sort of go around and what are you working on, what do you need to do, what else is going on, and we can see within their planners every day what they're working on. A lot of times the teachers will recommend everyone, I'm in the room with you, let's all be working on this, because I know some people are going to need additional help, and we'll really guide it that way to see. Or, pull some people aside and split up their class themselves and really try and help know that these students could use some extra time, these students will be fine working on this on their own. And balancing that out.
Mike, do you want parents to take a back seat to this? I know at FACE, parents are asked not to look on their Veracross more than once a week, to force students to become more responsible.
It really depends on the child. I wouldn't give a blanket statement like that. No, I think that, and especially at this age, there's some students who are just going to need more help. They're going to need more support. And we really value the partnership that we have with you. So, I wouldn't say that. There are times if it can get, if you have a child who's really very capable of doing their own work, I think that you can gauge that yourself. And certainly during conference time, or you can just pick up a phone and call a teacher or email a teacher also. That's a method of communication that's definitely available to you, just to size up. I mean, it's an art at this point.
So sixth grade is maybe not ready yet.
Again, it depends. You'll have students who the parent never needs to be involved ever. And then you have other students who, they really do need it. Hopefully by 8th grade, everybody's fine. But there's, there are varying degrees. And I think there really is an art in knowing when to support and when to let go. And there's sometimes when a kid is going to need to make some mistakes so that they will learn. And, we'll work with you on that.
And if you do, I would use Veracross as a conversational tool more than anything else. Just, hey, let's see what you have to do today, because I really, I wanted to show you how to cook this chicken dish, or whatever it may be. Like, let's see what you have going on and make sure that we have enough time. Or, oh, I know you really want to go to your friend's house over the weekend. Hey, let's get on Veracross and see what's upcoming, and maybe we can get out of the way. So kind of using it not as a, oh, I see you have this, Chinese paper that, have you even started on it? But using it really to, talk to your children and make it conversational so it doesn't feel like it's a punishment. And really letting them guide you, just being like, oh, this is such a cool system, how do you use it? And letting them show you, oh, look at it, this is Mr. Sproul's homepage. He put up this funny video we did today. And really being able to sort of take a back seat to their showing you how to do it and showing you, oh, this is my homework, here's what I did, and here's how I know when everything's due, and using that as a guide.
Can you talk about a little bit about what the range of appropriate relationships during middle school between the teachers and the parents? For example, like for my older one, I'm kind of assuming no news is good news, but maybe, should I be more proactive and, hey, is everything going okay with this kid, or how does that work? Or what are your suggestions?
Again, it's an art. There's no, it's not a science, it's an art. That said, we work with the premise that you know your kids better than anyone, and again, we really welcome that partnership. So, if you feel like you're not hearing something, but you're still a little concerned, don't hesitate to send out an email and just say, do I need to be a little bit more involved here?
Right.
Do you want more support from home, or you're more than welcome to do that.
But will the school reach out to us?
Yes.
Okay.
That as well. Definitely that as well. There are instituted times for that, which is conferences, but they only happen twice a year. You can't always wait for that. So yes, when there are issues, the teacher will be in communication with you. If there's a time when if homework's just not coming in, you'll get a heads up about that kind of thing. Again, the students are coming into an age where they really do need to develop more and more independence. So, there's some times when it just feels right to let them fall on their face. Otherwise, they won't learn. That said, there's I would say that the 6th grade teachers are particularly very fastidious about really communicating with you, and they will. And again, I mentioned what we call student services team, which is on Friday afternoons. We rotate and meet with each of the grade levels with that team of the learning specialists, Mike, myself, and the teachers, and Megan is often there as well, just to go over what needs are. And oftentimes those meetings will trigger some communication with the teachers, where if all 3 teachers are saying, yeah, maybe there's something going on, I haven't seen as good a performance, or, you know, the homework's not coming in, or they're late to class, or whatever it is, that will often be a stimulus for some communication to you. I want to also be cognizant of time. We did say this would be an hour. I think we just have 1 or 2 slides left. So we'll go ahead and go through, and then give anyone who needs to go the opportunity to go, and then we'll stay back for questions. More than happy to stay back for those who would like to.
So just briefly, obviously, as you're stepping up into middle school, we're going to give our students additional responsibilities, and they're also, you know, with what comes with those are additional privileges, and they take on additional responsibilities. But things we get, like they're using technology more. We have iPad cart, and we have a MacBook laptop cart up there, so they're exposed and using the technology more, and expected also to be take care of it. We have school dances, we have spirit days, we have special treat days, we have service projects going on, lots of ways for our students to get involved, for our students to take leadership, but also ways that, you know, we're expecting our students to give back and act responsibly in terms of, you know, cleaning up after themselves and participating in appropriate ways. And when we're doing things that we're working with younger students, really be modeling behavior and language, knowing that these younger students are really looking up to them. You know, our students move more, you know, throughout the school. They take themselves down to PE and down to art classes, and we're up on the 4th floor, so it's really navigating through the school quietly without interrupting classes, getting to where they need to go on time. And we found that they can really do that themselves, and giving them that trust. They're not giving us reasons to doubt them, which is wonderful. And we really ask them to, you know, be school leaders, to step up and remember, like in middle school, everyone else is looking to you. They're looking at what you're saying, they're looking at what you're doing. They're looking at what's important to you and the actions that you're taking. You know, to be a manager of your own school schedule and your homework, and really taking responsibility for that as much as you can. Helping, giving back to the school in different ways, whether it be, you know, cleaning up after your peers, maybe it's being a tutor, to ask for help when they need it. And asking for help is huge, and we're really trying to encourage our students to feel okay about that we don't all know everything, and asking for help is not a big deal. It's one of the smartest things they can do is say, I don't understand and I need some help. They prepare for conferences, which they lead. And also a big thing is just we want them learning from mistakes. So when students, you know, mess up, and we all mess up, to really help them reflect upon their actions. What were they thinking? What were they hoping the consequence would be? Why did it not turn out that way? Who might be affected? Who might be hurt? What relationships may need to be repaired? So really thinking beyond themselves, trying to do some learning so they continue to make decisions, and decisions that may have greater impact on their future, that they're really thinking about the consequences and thinking forward. And then finally, so everyone's going to get their middle school handbook, and that's going to lay out a lot of what Elizabeth and I have said, and also just go over other rules and things, and it's another great document to be reading with your kid and talking to your student about, so everyone's on the same page about the middle school. We have our 5th graders come up and visit the middle school as well later in the year, in May or June. And last year, Elizabeth and I were there, and we spoke to the kids, and we also gave them time to meet with the 6th graders so they could ask questions they had without us in the room. So just getting some of the inside scoop of what it's like to be in middle school as well.
Yeah, there was actually a panel of 6th graders who were more than glad to stand up there as the examples of where these students would be the following year. And it was a very, very sweet interchange, and we'll definitely repeat that next year. And I think it gave the students familiar faces to know that these students would be there next year as 7th graders, and it's also a good opportunity for 6th graders to be leaders and to help usher the new class in. I'm just looking to see what our last slide says. Each grade would, do you have anybody looking? Oh, I know what it is. It's that there will also be back to school night, you know, as you've had in lower school. And in this one, you will be going to each of the 3 teachers instead of the 1 or 2 teachers and hearing about the curriculum, etc. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you're welcome to stay behind now. And also, if things arise, or you have further questions, Mr. Friedman or I would be more than happy to answer them individually. If it looks like, you know, there for you who are making the transition into middle school. Anyway, we can be helpful. You can let us know the best ways.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have handouts now? Or?
I do. These will